What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now PS Edition. I am Alex. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the Order 1886's sequel coming to the PS5 and Xbox Series X, or at least the rumors of it. This is very, very interesting, and I believe I've talked about this on Podcast Now before with the Order 1886 because it's a game that had, I think it still has, the IP has potential. It has a future. In fact, Ready at Dawn has even said that that IP does have a future to it. But it's also a game that sold not very well. It was not received well at all for the PS4. I actually bought this game on day one, the Order 1886, and I beat it, I believe, that day, considering it was like a 4-hour game. We all know what it did, right? It was a solid-ish game, way too short, but also an absolutely beautiful visual game, right? A game that still honestly looks insanely good now. And what we have is basically new leaks from this game. Now, this comes from NeoGAF, and it basically is a trailer. This person had seen a trailer for this sequel game to the Order 1886. It would be on PS5 and Xbox Series X, and it goes through a small little section that you're doing of shooting this monster, but the biggest thing in it is talking about how it's the most beautiful thing, I think he said, that he's ever seen before, right? That it's the most visually, like, just spectacular thing in a game. You cannot tell between cutscenes or when a cutscene starts and ends and when the gameplay starts and ends. So that alone, right, is very the Order 1886. That's what that game did, is that you really couldn't tell a lot of it. It was basically a 4-hour movie, which is fine. It's interesting because the game didn't do very well at all, and I wouldn't put it past them to Sony to allow this to happen. The question is, why would it be on both consoles? I understand Sony's willingness to let things go, and I think that is honestly what we're seeing here, is a title that was a PS4 exclusive. Ready at Dawn had that second-party agreement, but then once that runs out, similarly to even like Quantic Dream, right? Detroit Become Human, even Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls, all PlayStation exclusive, but then when they got bought up by another publisher, they were never owned by Sony. They were allowed now, and Sony has to let them publish their games or put their games out on all the different platforms. So it's also just a general thing we're starting to see with Sony. Horizon coming to PC, rumored. The Last of Us Part 2 coming to PC, rumored. So lots of stuff happening that shows the willingness of PlayStation games to spread past just its own console. And also the fact that it is an IP, I think, that does have potential, and I think Sony recognizes that. I think Sony says, hey, this is a game that maybe didn't do all that well, and even the developers themselves. But the question is it Ready at Dawn? Because Ready at Dawn has said they're making a brand new IP. Doesn't sound like they're making the Order 1887 or the Order 1886 Part 2 or whatever they want to call it. So is it a different studio? There are a lot of questions, but this isn't the first time that we've heard stuff like this. And I guess this person that leaked this information, I guess he's gotten stuff right on the PS4 Pro before, so he does have a track record of being correct. So that is good. That's something that you have to respect and look into and say, well, maybe this guy is onto something. It makes sense. It makes sense that Sony doesn't want to let a franchise, and the developers don't want to let a franchise that does have potential, but definitely was not realized, definitely dropped the ball, but you learn from it. It needs to be a longer game. It needs to have better gameplay mechanics. I'm sure they know that, right? And if it doesn't, then hey, the only thing that I will say that kind of sucks about this is I'm all in for it, right? If it happens, and that's great. And I do like the way that they're handling it, that they are letting it basically have a second chance. I am just kind of upset that we don't get other chances for games that I'm more into. On Podcast Now, we've talked a lot about like Prototype. I'm a big Sly Cooper fan, right? For the PlayStation fans here, right? I love Sly Cooper. I think they need to let them have another chance at it. So like games like that I would definitely want to see a return for. I'm sure there's Infamous, right? Infamous 3. Would love to see them go back to that. So lots of things like that, and yet The Order, this game that didn't sell well, didn't get received well, nobody really is asking for it like at all. And I get you could probably say that. You could say in a large scale how many people are asking for Infamous 3 and Sly 5 and stuff like that. I think it's a much bigger group of people that are asking for that game than the next Order game. I think people would be respectful about it and would be willing to basically hear it out, right? Say, okay, you failed the first time, but what do you have going for you this time? I think people are going to be a little bit more reluctant because the game, I think, sold well initially, but then completely trailed off. And I think that's just because all the excitement, all the buildup, and then when people played it, and really all the people warning people about it, it was kind of like, oh, this is something that you need to stay far away from. It's basically a trap, right? It's a beautiful visual game, but it's only 4 hours. It doesn't really have a good story. There's no gameplay, and when there is some, it's not very good at all. So stuff like that, and they just need to fix it. I do believe this. I will say I believe this. This is not the first time we've heard. I believe we heard this rumors like 6 to 12 months ago. We've heard this again. We've heard this before, that this game was in development. So it's been consistent. That doesn't mean that it absolutely is real, right? But 2 times within, say, a year and a half that we've heard this game is being worked on, it would be kind of cool to have this be like a launch area-ish game for the PS5 and Xbox Series X. I think it's possible. Also, if that's the case, then we should probably be seeing it rather soon. Who knows? I don't think this should be a game that Sony like promotes as like one of the go-to things on their stage, say when they announce the PS5 and they show a batch of first-party games. They show some games that are just generally going to be third-party games, right? In general, maybe they show some Ubisoft, like all sorts of stuff like that. I don't think they would then pull out this game, although, honestly, they probably will. I just don't think it's a good idea. But, honestly, I think we will be seeing it soon. If this thing is real, I think it's probably pretty close to being done. I think we're going to be able to see it visually very, very soon. So, guys, let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Do you think this new Order 1886 sequel is real? When do you think it would be released? When do you think we will first see it? Let me know all that stuff in the comments below. Make sure you guys are subscribed and have that bell icon hit. We do videos like this every single weekday on the channel, and I really do appreciate you guys so much for watching. I hope to see you all on the next video.